which has the productions E derives EAE or ID, and E derives plus or star. Okay, so now we have grammar with two productions. E derives E derives capital E, capital A, capital E or ID, and A derives plus or star. Okay. So the first thing that I want to know from you all is, having understood the parser so well, is this in operator grammar or not? Because that's what we start with. We start by checking whether the grammar is operator grammar or not, and we don't hurry up in the next steps. So is this in operator grammar? Please check. So it's not an operator grammar, right? Because I believe that there are two rules for checking for operator grammar, right? The first rule is ruled out, that is epsilon. There's no epsilon over here. So we have to check the second rule. Second rule says that there should not be any adjacent grammar. So considering that rule, we see that here there are two adjacent non-terminals in the first production, right? So whenever we have something like this, what we need to do is we need to rewrite the grammar. So our solution will start by rewriting the grammar. So when we are rewriting the grammar, what we do is we don't include anything or we don't assume any reuse the productions of the same grammar. So we can see that the problem which is caused is just 1 minute. Okay, the problem is which is caused is here, that is in this particular part. Okay, but this particular symbol, which is a non-terminal, has been defined as plus or star. So now what we do is in the solution to this particular problem, what we do is we substitute production 2 in production 1. Okay, so what we can write is to convert the given grammar to operator grammar, substitute production 2 in 1. So when we do this, what we will get is E gives, instead of A we have to substitute plus, so E plus E. Then A is having one more value, that is star, so or E star E. So that is all, only two were there, or ID. So now what we get over here, that is whatever we got is our operator grammar. And since we have already used this particular rule 2 in rule 1, that is we have substituted it, so we don't use it anymore. So our final grammar or the operator grammar for this particular problem will be as given here, that is as we have defined it. E gives E plus E or E star E. Okay, so I believe that now it's clear to you all that I mentioned in the earlier class when we started with operator grammar that the first thing that we need to check is whether the given grammar is operator grammar or not. In case it is not operator grammar, then there is some method of converting it into operator grammar. So I told that we'll be discussing it later once we are comfortable with at least the the normal examples. So now we know how to convert the given grammar into operator grammar. So now once we know that this is an operator grammar, what we can do here is we can convert it into, we can work on it further. So we can go ahead with step number 2. Well, please do it parallelly since you all already know how to what is to be done in the next step. So in step number 2, we have to find the leading set. So leading set of the non-terminal in the grammar, of the various non-terminals in the grammar. So the only non-terminal that we have in the redefined grammar is capital E. So we have to find a leading set of E. So leading set of E is plus, star, and ID. As per step number 3, we have to find the trailing set of E. So trailing set of E will be plus, star, and ID. Okay. Are we correct till here? Can you please check? Okay. So having done this, we can go for the step number 4. So what step number 4 says is we have to define the precedence relations. So defining the precedence relations means what we can do is we have to apply the various rules that we have already discussed as per the precedence relations set of rules. Okay. So first thing is what we can do is you can apply rule number 1. So what rule number 1 says is if there is a production of the type A derives alpha A capital B small b beta, therefore A has equal precedence with B. Correct? So as per this, if we go to see our production, which is E gives or E derives E plus E, in this case, do we have anything of this form? I don't think so. It's there because we have non-terminal, terminal, and non-terminal. So rule number 1 is not applicable to this. The second rule is E gives E star E. So in this case also it is non-terminal, terminal, and non-terminal. So again here also it's not possible. Third one is E gives ID. So here also it is just a terminal. So again here also the rule 1 is not applicable. So we cannot apply this rule at all. Okay, or it will return fail when you try to apply that particular rule. Moving to the rule number 2. Rule number 2 says that if we have a production of the form A derives alpha A B beta, then what you do is A will be having lower precedence than leading of B. So let's try to see if this can be whether this rule can be applied to the given grammar. So here we can see that we have this as a terminal and this is a non-terminal. So what we can write is plus will have lower precedence than leading of E. Therefore plus is having lower precedence than plus, star, and ID. After that, take the second production, E gives E star E. So again here also same thing. So it will be star is having a lower precedence than leading of E, and star will be having lower precedence than whatever other leading elements of E. What about the third production? Can you apply this rule? Please check. Okay. So since we cannot apply rule number 2 to the third production, we have to proceed with the rule number 3. So rule 3 is A derives alpha B A beta. So in this case, it is trailing of B having higher precedence than A. So if we consider our rules, we have E gives E plus E. So So here we can see that it is non-terminal followed by terminal. So you get that pattern over here. So considering that, what we will get over here is trailing of E is having higher precedence than plus. So I think trailing set is plus star ID, higher precedence than plus. Okay. After that, we can apply rule 4 to the next production, E star E. Again, here also we have a non-terminal followed by terminal, this part. So what we'll get here is trailing of E having precedence over star. So trailing of E is plus star ID having precedence over star. I believe the third rule, third production that we have, that is E gives ID. We cannot apply this rule. So application of rule 3 is over till this point. Next is rule number 4. Rule number 4 will be what is rule number 4? I believe rule number 4 says that it should be leading of the start symbol. So as per this grammar, it is dollar should be having lower precedence than leading of E, which is nothing but dollar having lower precedence than what is it, plus star and ID. So with that we finish with rule number 4. Then we have rule number 5. So rule number 5 says trailing of E should be having higher precedence than dollar. So that means plus star and ID is having precedence over dollar. Okay. So till here we have completed, that is still defining the precedence relations. Then what you need to do is you need to construct the precedence table. Okay, and finally you need to parse the string. So what you can do is constructing the precedence table and parsing the string. You can please try later. Okay. So string you can take a very basic string ID plus ID and check whether the string can be parsed or not. Okay. We'll take up another example. So already we have discussed the remaining part, as in how to go about the problem till the step number 6. Okay, right, in the earlier classes. Now what I want to ask you is, are you okay with understanding that how do we convert a non-operator grammar to operator grammar? Is that fine? Not fine. No one understood. We will take another example. So we'll take another example for a similar scenario. We will be given a non-operator grammar and we have to convert it into an operator grammar and then go ahead with the remaining steps of the operator precedence parser problem. Okay, so just give me a minute. me think. Okay. You can take this and tell me whether it is an operator grammar, and if it is not, what you all have to do is you all have to convert it and give me the operator grammar, equivalent operator grammar for this. First thing is this an operator grammar? Okay, so can you all convert it into operator grammar and give me the solution? Solution in the sense I just want the operator grammar because we don't have much time to solve the full example, as you all know how much time it takes, right? We already solved enough number of examples for the entire problems. Right now, today we are focusing on given a grammar, how to analyze it, check whether it is operator grammar or not, and convert it into operator grammar if not. So right now I want the solution in the form of converting it. So since you all have said no, so what we have to write here is given grammar is not operator grammar. So what Mahib is saying is okay. So to convert it to operator grammar, substitute A in S, okay, or substitute production 2 in production 1. So what we have, or what we have been given is, we are given S gives, so we have to substitute for A, correct? So now how do we go about? S will come first, and then this production of A, BSB. So BSB followed by this particular S which is in the original production. Okay. Or there is one more production of A which is a small b. So that we have to substitute OU. So S, B, S. Okay. So that means with this the right hand side or the production A is exhausted. So we cannot substitute it anymore. So we have to write A over here, which is in the original production one. Okay. So what we got is SBS, BS, and SBS. Okay. So I got, well, if some of you have given the solutions over here. Yes. So whenever we have what do you call it? Whenever we have multiple right hand sides, like for example, A is giving us B, S, B or B, we have to substitute every right hand side in the other production. As in, if you remember when we started with the earlier example, E gives E plus, sorry, EAE or ID, and A gives plus or asterisk. What we did was we applied this first and then we applied this. So what it resulted in was E giving E plus E or E star E or ID. Okay, so we have used this as well as this also. So same thing applies over here. Your first, this is after applying the first value of A, and this is after applying the second value of A. Is it fine? No, no, we have to apply both, meaning whichever, what do you call it, whichever RHS are available when we're substituting, we have to substitute the whole thing. Okay, so now it is an operator grammar, that is this particular production is now an operator grammar. Why? Because we have a non-terminal followed by a terminal and then a non-terminal. Again, here also we have a terminal followed by a non-terminal. Okay, same thing here. So we don't have two adjacent non-terminals in this particular grammar, so that's why it is an operator grammar. Okay. As I said earlier also, when we started with the operator precedence parser, that the scope of operator precedence parser, as in terms of the grammars, is comparatively lesser as compared to other parsers, because it can be applied only to a limited set of grammars. Okay, so I can take one more example. So the next example that we are taking on similar lines, as in given a non-operator grammar, we have to convert it into operator grammar. So just hold on, there's some problem with the whiteboard. I'll reopen it. Is the whiteboard visible now? Okay. So now let's continue. As I said, let's take up another example. Now this example, like we can call it like a special example. I would realize it once we start solving. What we are given is this grammar. So this is a grammar that is given to us. It's quite a vast one, and we need to solve it. So first thing that we need to do in this particular case, or rather in case of operator precedence parser or any of the parsers that we'll be studying again further ahead also, what we need to understand is what exactly, or is there any meaning to the given grammar? Okay. Now, when I say this, is there any meaning to the given grammar? What I'll do here is, of course, we'll be discussing this particular example, but since we already solved some other example, we can take a reference of that, try to understand that first and see whether we can find any analogy or anything over here. Okay. Like for example, sometime back, I just took this grammar and I converted to give me E plus E, E star E, and ID. Okay. So now if you take it in the literal sense, as in terms of the statements used in a program or in the actual sense, we can see that this E is actually nothing but it stands for expression. Okay. So it's something like we can have an expression which is defined in terms of something like E plus E, or we can have an which is defined as expression multiplied by another expression. Now, wherein this can fire and this also can be an identifier. If you look at the other one, this also can be an identifier multiplied by some other identifier or some other value. Okay, so in this particular grammar which we already studied, we can see that this is the actual meaning of it. Okay, so now similarly, what we can do here in this grammar which we have just taken, the third example, what we can do or what we need to do here is we need to understand the meaning of this particular grammar. Okay, so now this grammar that is given to us in this particular in the form of this particular productions, what we need to understand here is what exactly this E means. Okay, so P over here refers to P over here refers to paragraph. Now this is in the context of normal, you can say normal natural language, as in say English. So we have a paragraph. Now this paragraph, we know that, like for example, suppose if I write that good morning, today is Saturday, and maybe something like happy weekend, and so on. Okay, and we have multiple. So we can see that a paragraph, this entire thing is paragraph that I have just taken. Now this paragraph is made up of these the sequence of words, right? Now this sequence of words are nothing but their sentences, correct? So that's what this grammar defines. So this grammar is basically for defining a paragraph. So how it defines this grammar in the form of paragraph is, we can see that the production P gives us SR or S. Okay, now let's consider the second S over here first, that is this one. So paragraph gives S or whatever, so it means this S refers to sentences or a single sentence. Okay, a paragraph could be just a single sentence also, right? Like for example, suppose if you write when you write say any letter, you're sending an email or you're writing any letter, like we write certain statements which we write certain paragraphs which are just made up of one particular statement. Like for example, towards the end, before writing say yours sincerely, we just put as say thank you or thanking you in anticipation, something of that sort, right? So that also can be treated as a paragraph. So that's the reason a single sentence is also a paragraph. Or like this, we can see that here what we had was we had a set of statements. Okay, set of statements in the sense a statement, say if I call it as st1, after that st1 we have another statement st2, and I have st3 and so on. So this kind of thing is called as a recursively appearing statements. Okay, so now these recursively appearing statements can be considered as SR in the grammar. So we have SR in the grammar. So basically a paragraph could be just a single sentence, or it could be a set of recursive sentences. Okay, so that's the reason it is SR. Now this recursive sentence R, okay, R can be further defined in the form of it could be either a blank followed by a sentence. Like for example, if you all remember, or if you all know, when we write certain letters or when we write certain paragraphs in letters, we leave some blank and then we start writing whatever. Okay, so now this blank is considered in the form of B. Okay, and then we can have whatever the sentence is, or we can have a blank followed by multiple sentences. That is a paragraph made up of recursive sentences. So that's the reason it is BS or BSR. Okay, a paragraph basically or a recursive sentence. Sorry, a recursive sentence could be either something like this, or it could be just a single statement. Okay, then we have S, which is nothing but a sentence. So a sentence could be made up of a single word, or a sentence could also be made up of a word, and there is a blank, and then there is another sentence. Okay, so that's the reason the production rule S gives WBS has been defined. So which defines a sentence. Now word itself could be just a letter. That's the reason it gives only L. Okay, or a word could be a letter followed by it could be more than one letters. That's the reason the asterisk is taken over here. Or it could be of course one or more letters followed by another word, a word as a whole. Okay, and lastly L, which stands for letter, is defined in terms of nothing but identifier, because we know that identifiers are nothing but they are words which have some predefined rules which need to be followed. Okay, so this is just a brief I can say understanding of what the grammar is about and what we are supposed to do further next. So in this once we have understood what exactly is happening over here, or what a paragraph is, what it contains, how it can be written in the form of either a single sentence, or we can have recursive sentences and so on, then only we can go further with the conversion of this, because we know now clearly that it is not an operator grammar. So the solution to this will be we have to convert it into an operator grammar. Okay, so let's consider I'll just number them 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'll just number them, and now we'll convert them into convert the grammar into operator grammar. So let's consider the first one. P gives S R or S, and R gives B, S, R or S. Okay. So now if I believe that you all have understood the concept of a paragraph which can be made up of a single sentence or recursive sentences, and then in turn further ahead as we just discussed about what a sentence is, what a word is and so on, I think it will be very easy to understand how do we go about. So right now what we'll do here is, this is my 1 and this is my 2. We can substitute 2 in 1 and check whether we can come with any solution. So what we get over here is P gives S. We substitute wherever there is R, we have to substitute its RHS. So R is BSR, and then we have R is also BS. So S BS, and also that's it. And then P gives us small s. Okay, write it properly. Okay. So now this is our production after redefining it. Now in this case, once we have done this, as I said, that operator precedence parser entirely is quite vast, and especially it becomes more vast when we don't know certain things, or if we are not careful about certain things. Okay, so now you would understand why we have discussed that entire thing, paragraph, sentences and all that. So if I just consider my earlier paragraph, that is, it was good morning something, then there was some other statement, dot, there was some other statement, then there was some other statement, and so this entire thing is my paragraph. Now in this paragraph you can see that in this paragraph we can see that in this production we can see that we have multiple parts actually separated by OR. So we can see that just give me a second. Okay, so we can see that there's some problem. Okay. If you consider SBS as one of them, okay, so we can see that a paragraph could be a sentence, in between there could be a blank, then there could be sentence, whatever. Okay, I think this is capital S only, or it can be just a single sentence. Now coming to the other part which we have written, P gives SB SR. We have noticed that this SR, which we try to get rid of from here, this particular part is again appearing over here. Okay, now in such cases what we need to consider is again the concept, whatever is there behind this particular grammar. The concept, as I said, behind this particular grammar is that we can have a sentence followed by recursive sentences. Okay, so if a paragraph itself is considered as a sentence followed by more number of recursive sentences, which is represented in the form of R, then in this case what we can conclude is this particular SR, which is appearing recursively, can be what I can say, can be treated as the paragraph itself. So by doing this, what we can do here is we can rewrite this particular part in the form of P gives SB and capital P. Why? Because a paragraph can be treated as a sentence followed by recursive, that is more number of sentences. So considering that particular concept or that particular idea, what we are doing here is this SR is replaced by P itself, because it is recursive in nature, and the remaining production remaining as it is. Okay, so if we consider this particular concept, what we get here is whatever I've written here right now. So P gives S small capital S small b capital P. Okay, I think I wiped off that. So what we get here is P S B capital P, or S small b capital S and capital S. Fine. Now since we have already substituted R and we have used it, so the production of R can be discarded. So if the production of R is discarded, what remains in the grammar is S gives WBS, or W gives L star W, or L gives ID. Okay. At times this can be given as ID, at times it can be given as A or something like that also. Okay, but it doesn't matter. If it is just given as A, then also it implies that it refers to some particular ID. I believe that this conversion is clear to you all. Okay. Now again check the entire grammar. So if you look at the first production, P gives SB capital P, SB capital S and S. So it is operator grammar. Here it is the capital W small p capital S or W. So it is operator grammar. Here also it is operator grammar, and here also it is operator grammar. There is no epsilon, and there are no adjacent non-terminals in the grammar. Is it fine? I believe if you all have made your notes on the other side where you all are attending, I believe it should be clear to you all if you all have understood whatever I have discussed about P being paragraph, S being sentence, and so on. I believe that it should be clear. Just remember, I'm repeating again, for this particular part, what we did was we have considered P to be defined as you can say recursive, or defined in terms of recursive this SR. Okay, so hence what we do here is we replace SR by P. So by doing this, what we did was whatever we had SR, this SR has been replaced by capital P, and therefore what we got was P giving us S small b capital P, SBS, or capital S. Okay, so once we have done with this, I believe doing the next part is not a big deal for you all. So I'll have to just find the leading of P, S, W, P, S, W, and L, and similarly trailing of each of them, and then proceed with the problem. Okay. The string to be passed for this, I'll message you later. Okay, I'll either message you later or I'll give you on Monday. So that was another example, and lastly we'll take one more example and check whether it is operator grammar or not, whether we can solve it or not. So please make a note. S gives L equal to R, or R. Star B. See, the thing is, in the earlier grammar, what had happened was it was not an operator grammar, so we had to consider it in that particular manner, that is statement, paragraph, sentence, whatever, recursive sentences, word, letter, and all those. Now, if the if the grammar that is given to us is directly in the form of an operator grammar, then of course we need not bother about all these things, and we can directly uh, work on it. Okay. So now what you all have to do over here is, can you all tell me whether this is an operator grammar or not? Check whether this is an operator grammar. So you all are saying, might be saying that it is an operator grammar. Okay. Okay, so if it is an operator grammar, I want the leading and trailing sets of this. Please find out and message. In the meantime, I'll just check your attendance. So we want to find the leading of S, L, and R. So if I find the leading of S, it will be equal to, as per the first production, and then it will be leading of leading of S will be equal to leading of R. So if we go to R, we can see again R derives L. So it shows that leading of R will be again leading of L. So we have to find the leading of L first. Leading of L is star and ID. That's it, I believe. So from this, it will be star and ID again here. And since leading of S is equal to leading of R, it will be this. Okay, let's see. I have given some solution. Right, Saish is saying leading of S is equal to star and ID. Equal to star and ID. Okay, so that's right. Then trailing of S will be, looks like it will be the same. So trailing of S will be equal to, and trailing of R will be equal to trailing of S as per the rules. But trailing of R we cannot find, because for that we require trailing of L. Trailing of L is star and ID, and trailing of R will be equal to trailing of L, so star and ID. And as per the rule, it will be star and ID. So I am getting this. These are the leading and trailing sets. Okay. So once if you all have got this, I think going further ahead with the next part of the problem is quite straightforward. We just need to define the precedence relations. So we have to apply the various rules. and get the precedence relations from which you can construct the precedence table. Finally, parse the string. Okay. So this is all about the operator precedence parser. So we are winding up with operator precedence parser with today's class. Okay. So basically, what is there to be done is you need to check whether the grammar is operator grammar or not. If not, we need to apply a basic technique of substitution. A basic technique of substitution will include substituting another what do you call it, production into the production which has some anomaly, like obviously adjacent non-terminals, and convert it into operator grammar. Rest of the steps we have already done quite in detail, so I think it should be clear about leading, trailing, etc. Now, regarding the scope of this particular concept in terms of exam is, as I explained earlier, and if a problem is asked that is given a grammar, we have to construct the operator precedence parser and parse the given string. If this entire solution is asked, it can appear in the range of 10 to 12 or 10 to 15 marks. Okay, wherein you need to show every step in detail. If not, only leading and trailing also could be asked. Given a operator grammar, you need to check whether it is operator. Given a grammar, you need to check whether it is operator grammar, and you need to find the leading and trailing somewhere around 6 marks or something. Or it is also possible that a theory question can be asked based on which we have actually solved the problems. As in, like for finding the leading, there is some rule. For finding the trailing, there is some rule. Then for defining the precedence relations also, there are certain rules, and so on. So all those things, okay. Another thing is, if you all have noticed, when we constructed the precedence table, I mean, in terms of the row and column, if the same operator appears, like plus and plus, star and star, then there are certain rules that we need to know, which I've already explained earlier in the Thursday's class. That is, if we have the same operator appearing in the row and column, and we need to make an entry of precedence relation for it, what we need to be careful is we need to check whether that particular operator is having left to right associativity. In case it is having left to right associativity, the rule is very simple. The precedence relation to be inserted in that particular cell will be a greater than precedence. Okay. In case the operator in case the same operator appears in the row as well as column labels, then and it is having what do you call it, right associativity. In that case, a less than precedence relation will be inserted. Okay, so this is the difference between the two things. So for that, we should be clearly knowing in a given set of operators. Of course, the questions are based considering the basic programming language, that is C. So of operators of C programming, so that it becomes easy for us to figure out in such cases. Okay, so that is all about operator precedence parser. As I said earlier also, for the actual theory, as in all the theory part, please refer the notes. Okay. And just to speak about the advantage of operator precedence parser, one thing is it is a very what do you call it, simple parser. Okay, there are limited grammars on which it can work, and the main advantage of this parser is that it works on ambiguous grammars also. So that's the reason, if you all have noticed, our E derives E plus E or E star E, which is an ambiguous grammar. Okay, ambiguous grammar is a grammar which can generate two or more parse strings, more than one parse string for a given string, parse tree for a given string. So that is called as ambiguous grammar. So if you all have noticed, we can use operator precedence parser on such grammars also. So that is the plus point of it. Okay. So that is all about the operator precedence parser. I hope you all have understood it. So whatever examples I've already done, please see that you all revisit them, try to solve them on your own. Only that time you all would understand. Just give me a few more seconds. I'll just record the attendance again. Then you all can exit. Okay. So yeah, that is all done. So see you all in the next class on Monday. Thank you.